Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your off-season edition of the Hurricane Outlook and discussion. This is the I don't care what I look like version. Can't go to the salon, or whatever you call it, the barber shop. I guess men can go to a salon, right? Anyhow, stupid virus. Time to talk off-season stuff. Let's get rid of me. I just wanted to at least say hi personally there. Yeah, off-season discussion time for May the 4th, Star Wars Day. That has dominated Twitter today, which is much better than what we've been dealing with. I'll take that anytime over all the coronavirus unpleasantries. So let's jump into the world of weather and look at what's happening for hurricane season. The old NOAA NESDIS sea surface temperature anomalies charts have gone the way of the dinosaur, apparently. So there's some new higher resolution versions. These are like 5-kilometer resolution from what I understand, and these update more frequently. And I guess it's a prettier version. It's just more aesthetic, but whatever. Here it is. So this is what we have for today, or yesterday. It hadn't updated for today, but that's fine. Cooling in the equatorial Pacific. There it is. We thought that would be coming. And it is coming, and there it is. Some anomalous cooling, that is a departure from average. That's what an anomaly is, or normal. Departure from normal. In the main development region, but overall the Atlantic still quite a bit warmer than that long-term average, especially up here in the northeastern part of the Atlantic, at least the subtropical Atlantic. I mean, way up here off the chart, off the map, the far North Atlantic's quite a bit colder, but down here in the subtropics and the deep tropics, for the most part, except for this one little area, there's just been some stronger trades coming through, a little bit more convection off the coast of Africa, stirring things up, cloud cover, so forth. The Atlantic's warm, believe me, it's ready to go. We're getting close to hurricane season, and the water temperature profile supports a fairly active season ahead. It does so appear. Looking at the disappearing subsurface chart, there we go, it's back. This updated on the 28th of April, so not too long ago. Lots and lots of cold subsurface anomalous water. That just means colder than it should be. Lurking below this remnant warmth area of the tropical Pacific. It's just a matter of time. As we can look right here. There it is. It's starting right across here. That is that cold water area coming to the surface across the equatorial Pacific. That's what this shows. And this will just get more and more blue, less and less oranges and reds and whatever. And we can further add to the pile of evidence looking at the climate models from the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia. And we see that for May, still on the warm side of neutral, but if we go to June, boy, the NASA model just falls off a cliff there. But more models starting to indicate a cooling trend. Get to July, pretty much everything is showing a cooling trend by August. It's almost unanimous. There's just a little tiny piece of the Euro holding on there. The European, the System 5 now, or whatever, it just hangs on, man. It's like that person that thinks that your team that's down by 13 is going to come back and win with 12 seconds to go, or whatever. But the rest of the modeling, the Bureau of Meteorology's model, the NASA, like crazy La Nina model, the NOAA CFS, UK Met, and then you just look at this. And this is what I really like about how you display data. Just look at the average here. Look at the mean right there. And that's what you really want to pay attention to. Headed towards definitely cool neutral. But remember, the Bureau of Meteorology's definition of La Nina is negative 0.8. CPC, or the United States Climate Prediction Center's definition, is 0.5. So cool neutral. And then when we get to September, it's all pretty much in. Even the European, it's 100% unanimous by the peak of hurricane season. No warm neutral, no El Nino. Yes, cold neutral, probably even weak La Nina. It looks like we're going to have a busy hurricane season ahead. We can deal with that. Don't let that alarm you. They happen, all right? And we're going to talk about that more and more, and I'm going to be positive in the fact that we're going to use our experience to our advantage. There's no reason to make it sound scary because we understand hurricanes. That's the difference here. I'll come back on just for a second here. I'll scare you with, talk about scary. Look at that hair. Don't. Just for a moment here, okay? So this whole COVID-19 thing is, I think, as frightening as it's been because there is no clear-cut signal on so many things. A lot of information, misinformation, models wrong, politicians saying things, everybody's an expert on it. Models this, scary stuff that, and again, no cohesive whatever, and the last time we've ever dealt with it was 1919, 1918, somewhere in there, right? The last pandemic of this scale. And so there's a lot of, well, it's just real simple, folks. We fear what we don't understand. And I get that. Hurricanes, we do understand. We know when they're coming, because we got that, the satellite pictures. We have models, just like we do with COVID-19, but with computer models and hurricanes, they are way better, right? Even though they have their weaknesses, we don't ever just wake up and, oh, there's a hurricane off of, wherever, and we didn't know it was going to happen. That doesn't happen anymore. So we have that to our advantage. And so let's use that. All right. Let's think of it in a positive way. We know they're going to be out there in the Atlantic. We don't know where they're going to end up. I don't know where that's going to happen on May the 4th. But using this tool right here, satellite, as our first line of defense, we can spot them when they're way out here. Maybe they're heading that way, or if something forms in the Caribbean and is going to head up this way. That still gives everybody over here and everybody over here days of warning, and we can do something about it. We can do something about it now. Same thing along the Pacific coast. Something develops over here. We know it's coming. And so forget all the, wow, it's 2020, and why not have 50 hurricanes, and they're all going to be terrible. That's just ridiculous. Let's don't look at it that way. It's hurricane season coming up, like it always has been. Let's just be ready. That doesn't mean it has to be, fun. I'm not suggesting that, but not going to play into the doom and gloom, whatever. We've had too much of that already. Not going to do it. So anyway, I want to show you something else with this, though, real quick. Nice and clear through the Caribbean. Just a few showers down here from time to time. The resolution is just not high enough here to zoom in and see any particular showers that pop up. But the trades are, blowing on through. Maybe a little bit of African dust in here, as would be expected. Pretty active overall. Not quite a monsoon trough, I don't think. I didn't even look at the analysis. But there's a little bit more energy over here. The intertropical convergent zone. And it's a focusing mechanism, basically. So a little bit more cloud cover. But you can see there's also this westerly wind component over the top of any of these clouds that are going this way. You got these westerly winds on top of that going against the grain, and that helps to preclude development. It takes a while for things to get conditionally favorable for development, and we're almost there. It's coming. We know that, and again, we will deal with it. All right, so this is what I want to show you too. Most of the energy still resides in the higher latitudes, up here, up here. These are all signatures of vorticity or energy and spin in the atmosphere. Not much of it down here in the tropics just yet, but starting to develop a little bit more. Some of it comes off of Colombia down here, off these mountains. Very interesting atmospheric phenomenon with that. And that can bleed over into the eastern Pacific. And you get that monsoon trough that'll set up sometimes where you get a westerly wind component in here against that easterly wind, and you spin. It spins up. It's true. That's how it works. Well, generally, very simplified version of how it works. But the bottom line, we will be watching for these little blobs right here when they start to happen down in this region. And we're not there yet, but this is one of the tools. All right, just familiarizing you with what we're going to be using to play detective throughout the coming months when we look for, I don't even want to call it trouble, because it's only trouble if you let it be trouble. Anyway, I As we look at Twitter, what are people saying on Twitter? Dr. Phil Klotzbach today, he says historically warmer than normal sea surface temperatures in the eastern Atlantic correlate with more active Atlantic hurricane season. Currently, most of the eastern Atlantic is warmer than normal except for north of 45 degrees north. This is what I was just showing you. In fact, I did all my graphics before I saw this. Scout's honor. And so at least I know what I'm talking about. And yeah, this is a nice composite that shows you what's up. Colder up here in the North Atlantic, warm all around in the southern reaches of the North Atlantic basin, the subtropical Atlantic, and then real close to the Greater Antilles and Florida Peninsula, of course. And, you know, here's another look at it. Almost starting to get that warm AMO look overall. But this is different. That's a different chart there. I don't want to conflate and confuse you. But this is very telling right here, what Dr. Klotzbach said. Next, from Ben Knoll over the weekend, somewhere around here that he posted that. This, whatever. Upward motion average from the CanSIPs, which is just I think it's the Canadian version. You've got the UK Met, the Euro, the climate forecast system, and you have the Canadian. And it's a method of guidance out into the future. This is August through October. And the way that the globe is split up here, just focus. Here is Africa, right here. And then look at all this green. That's all upward motion that spills over. Yeah, I can't wrap it around and make it 3D for you, but it spills over along the west part of Africa. Orange and red here, whatever you call this, rusty color, is sinking motion. So the air is rising. We'll put a plus here and a plus here over Western Africa. Sinking, whoops, I screwed it up. And sinking here. Basically, when you go and you look, and this is what he's talking about, the velocity potential pattern during the heart of hurricane season continues to resemble that of the busiest years. So when you look at the forecast, which is what this is, and you go back and you say, well, what did it look like in some of the busiest hurricane seasons? It's almost an exact match. It really is. It's like, wow. And that is the beauty of this science. You can use hindcasting. You go back and you look at the past. And remember, I talked about that. You see, this is where this all comes into play. We can use our experience to help us better prepare for the future. You got me? So we can look at the past. We know, oh, that's a red flag. Could be a very active hurricane season. Let's make sure we are more ready maybe than we have been in the last few seasons. Let's just look at it that way. All right? So moving on along, capital weather gang. Now we're going to talk about lower 48 weather just for a little bit. I saw this in the last several days. I've been avoiding it, but can't avoid it any longer. Where was this in January, February, and March? Well, it certainly wasn't around. All kinds of signals here that a cold regime is going to set up a pattern for the eastern U.S. later this weekend to Mother's Day and beyond, while it stays warm with anomalous ridging out to the west. And you know what? If this was set up, and it won't be, because it just can't get this amplified, I don't think. But if this is what it looks like in September, unless you got a hurricane coming out of the Caribbean, it'll be very difficult to hit the eastern U.S. But we know that's not how things work. This is May. It's not the end of the summer season like September would be, and so I probably shouldn't have even said anything. But this is a highly anomalous pattern, speaking of anomalies, but it does spell cold, stormy, yucky in the east. But it's May. Things will flip. And you know what? That battle zone between these air masses right through here, that's where a lot of the severe weather is going to start to line up. And that brings me very conveniently to the convective outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. This is today. Enhanced risk in parts of extreme southeast Kansas, eastern to northeast Oklahoma, southwest Missouri, northwest Arkansas. Hopefully you know your geography. I don't have to spell them all out for you, but this is the main area, yellow in this orange color for today. The threat of large hail, that's the biggest issue. See? 30%. Wind, 15. Tornado, luckily, Well, 10%, and yes, I will get my math right this time, that if you have 100 ping pong balls and 10 of them say yes and 90 say no, that's still a 10% shot. I screwed it up a couple weeks ago with trying to describe that, but I got it right this time. 10%, enough to take notice. But the biggest threat here really is hail, and it's that time of year. This is important. I'm just going to point this out real quick. Let's go to the rest of the days. By day 3, which is, this is I always look at that right there and it messes me up. The previous one, this is today, that's tomorrow, and that's Wednesday. There we go. So the week ahead doesn't look too bad after we get through today. And then days 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, the potential and the probability, etc., are too low. However, I have been planning quietly behind the scenes with some of my cohorts a tentative date, the last week of May. Yours truly and a couple of our crowdfunding partners are going to head out to this region, somewhere in here, to do 2 things. 2? That's 2. I had 2 on both hands. Just one set of 2s, Mark. We're going to go and test the weather balloon, the Hurby, H-U-R-R-B, Hurricane Research Balloon. Everything has to have an acronym. We need to do our annual test just to make sure everything's ready. And since we're going to do it at the end of May, there's a potential, you would think, during that time period of severe weather somewhere in that box. And so we'll take some cameras with us and maybe do the whole idea of setting up that fence I've been talking about. Remember where I said, wouldn't it be neat to put cameras inside of a severe weather area, covering like an area like that, where you can see what happens way out in the open there? I'd love to be able to do that, and I think we might have that chance. We are already working on it, just as long as it's safe to travel and we can follow all the guidelines and do things properly. I get it. It's a completely freaking different world out there. But so as long as we don't have any, setbacks of epic proportions between now and the end of the month of May, that's what we're planning. It will be myself and our Patreon supporter and in-person supporter, Brent, from the Virgin Islands, and maybe a couple of other people. I'll keep you posted. All right? Moving on along. Speaking of keeping you posted, Wednesday, 4 p.m., I'm going to have Daniel Brown, the hurricane forecaster, not the author. That's Dan Brown. Well, they're both Dan Brown, but just trying to be funny. Daniel Brown, the forecaster, National Hurricane Center. We're going to talk about the National Hurricane Center suite of products, the forecast discussion, public advisory, things like that, and what all has been added, how it's changed over the years. What can you, as a consumer of these products, take away? What can you learn from them? I use these products a lot during my Hurricane Outlook and discussion videos when a hurricane is knocking on our door. So that's this Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, back to the regularly scheduled time slot on my YouTube channel, live, supported by our patrons. Thank you all very much. Also, I hadn't mentioned this in a while. Everybody's at home. If Trolls World Tour could make over $100 million, video on demand, I figured, I probably should talk about my pair of originals that's sitting on Amazon Prime Video, Tracking the Hurricanes 2017, the full movie, available with Prime. It's on there. And the 2018 movie is not on Prime, still rent or purchase, and it is really spectacular. Hey, there's the Windows 10 talking to me in the background. Don't know if you heard that, but I thought I muted it. Anyway, these are on Amazon Prime and available for you to check out. 2017, 2018. Why haven't I put all the other ones on there? I started these in 2004, the Tracking the Hurricanes series. Well, it's a lot harder than you would think. You got to get closed captioning, you got to do the render properly, and it's just, I figured I'd put my 2 best of the whole series. I did 04, 05, 08, 15, 16, 17, 18 in the Tracking the Hurricanes series. So 17 and 18 are on Amazon Prime Video, a new series, a television type series where it's episodic. That's what that generally means. Episodes instead of bump the mic. One long movie. That's going to be available sometime in June. That's called The Hurricane Highway, and we'll talk more about that later. But I've got an entire new series coming up, 7 or 8 episodes, and that'll be on Amazon Prime Video in June if all goes well. Or you may become a patron on Patreon, even at the $1 level. You get access to all of that. Yeah, everything's there. All of our podcasts, the Hurricane Highway series, the Tracking the Hurricanes, every one of them. Like I say right here, think of it, our Patreon is like Netflix for weather enthusiasts, and especially for hurricanes. That's our focus, of course. And all kinds of other stuff. And at the $10 level, our cameras, you have access to those. I mean, look at that. Come on. Just for $10 a month to support this incredible thing that we're doing. And then it goes up from there, $25 a month. You get our paper tracking map, and we put your name in the end credits of future work. You know, trying to reciprocate your support, all on Patreon. The link to sign up and support what we're doing is in the YouTube video, as always, all right? So, to summarize, as if I need to, there's no changes. Hurricane season still coming. And as I said, we know it's coming, so we can do something about it. I mean, hey, it's National Hurricane Preparedness Week, and it's time to start thinking about what we will do. And that's the very first step, is you got to acknowledge it. It's kind of like having, an addiction to something. First, you have to acknowledge you have a problem. I don't mean to chuckle, but it's true. If you just, I don't want to hear about hurricanes, no, go away, that's not going to help. But on the other hand, just saying it one more time, putting on a scary face and making bold headlines of, the worst hurricane season ever, that's not necessary either. We're going to go down the middle, and we're going to do it right, just like we've done for 20 plus years with this brand. I'm not perfect, but I try to at least get that part right, that we take it easy and make sense of everything in a calm and scientific manner. All right? Have yourselves a great rest of your Monday and the rest of your week ahead. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. Join me on Wednesday for Hurricane U, 4 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be back with you next Monday as we continue with the off-season hurricane outlook and discussion. Thanks again for watching. We'll chat again soon.